Well, welcome back to the channel. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 54 units of real estate. So today I want to talk about this concept I've been trying to live by recently is live a life with no regrets. And when I say this, I'm not saying, go YOLO, be reckless, drink a bunch of alcohol, do a bunch of drugs, do a bunch of reckless behaviors. No, not that extreme, but more so live a life in a way where when you look back, you won't have regrets, right? So, if you talk to a bunch of people who are much older than we are, the number one regrets are, I wish I traveled more when I was younger, right? And I feel like for millennials and maybe Gen Z, we travel a bit more, maybe because of, social media. It's easier to, book flights and to find itineraries. I think back in my parents' days, my parents are in the boomer generation, you had to go through a travel agent and they'll help plan everything, and maybe it was too expensive and they didn't have the luxury of disposable income to travel. But obviously a lot of millennials, Gen Zs, well, it's an unfortunate stat, but I think a lot of them, we travel a lot, but some go into debt, like credit card debt, in order to travel and in order to live a good life. So it comes with a fine balance, right? Where it comes with a fine balance where you want to make sure you travel, but also make sure that you're saving money, not going credit card debt, because both can be crippling. Like a lot of people on the flip side of this say, I wish I started investing earlier, because you see the power of compound interest and a little bit, that discipline in the beginning in your 20s and 30s can compound significantly in your 60s and 70s to the point where it'll determine if you still have to work or not, depending on how early you started. So obviously the earlier you can start investing and compounding, the sooner you can get the benefits of compounding, because it takes decades for compounding to really work and to really be in your favor. So, it's balancing two sides of the coins. So how do I do that? So I still travel. Obviously I use credit card points to do that. I don't stay in like super, 4-star, 5-star hotels. You can travel to, cheaper areas like Southeast Asia. Like I just went to Vietnam, and it's obviously significantly cheaper in Vietnam compared to, traveling to Europe or even traveling from the United States, where I can get a hotel for like 30 to 50 bucks a night and food's $2. And taxi rides like $100 versus in Vietnam, you can get a hotel with breakfast included for like 30 bucks a night. Each meal is like $2-3 US. And you can even eat a nice steak dinner in Vietnam for like 30 bucks US, which is like our normal now, just for eating out in the US. So there's a way to extend your money when you travel. And for me, like if you were to prioritize traveling, and let's just say that you are on a tighter budget, well, there's something else that has to give. Maybe you eat out less when you're living in the States. Maybe you buy less things. Maybe you don't go on the small little trips here and there. Maybe you make your own coffee, right? Maybe you have to bring your own lunch. So, there is a way to prioritize it, but conceptually, like you should allocate your money towards experiences. You should allocate your money towards travel, because, we're only young once. Like obviously I'm in my 30s now, and I don't have as much energy as my 20s, but I'm gonna be in my 40s one day and say, well, I had a lot more energy in my 30s compared to my 40s. So it's only kind of like declining, for lack of a better word. And as you age, you're not gonna have fewer obligations, you have more obligations. As you age, you're not gonna have more energy, you're gonna have less energy. As you get older, you're not gonna look younger, you're gonna look, the only thing that's guaranteed is us aging, right? So, experiences compound as well. And every time I travel, I just realize like how little money I need in order to like live a really good life. And it's just that like being in California obviously is very, very, very expensive, especially living in Los Angeles. And you have to make a good income to do that and make sacrifice. Like obviously I could move to like Vegas where it's way cheaper, own a house cash, still make probably similar income as a pharmacist, and have my dollar extend a lot further, but you're going to deal with the desert climate of Vegas, maybe not as much Asian food and supermarkets, and maybe not as much to do, who knows. So you have to like make that analysis for you and then decide what to do. So because I choose to live in LA, $1 million home looks nothing fancy, it looks like a townhouse, but if you have $1 million home in Vegas, you might get a little mansion, right? So would you rather have a bigger house or a smaller house, the same house, a lot cheaper, and be able to have time freedom more, or be in an area you like to be? So there's no right or wrong answer, as long as you're very cognizant of why you're there, right? So for me right now, it makes sense for me to be in LA, like to have fun, like to do activities, but one day it may not be worth it for me to be in LA, in which case I can move. So, nothing too extreme. And, for me, luckily, I live in LA and I don't get caught up with the Joneses or keeping up the Kardashians, right? I don't need to have a super nice car. I don't care to like flex my car, flex my wealth, flex that I'm going to nice restaurants, because it seems cool on Instagram and social media, but in reality, those people are usually not that happy, if I'm being honest, because they're not living in the moment, and their only happiness in life is just getting some validations and likes from strangers on the internet, right? And people might say, well, Steven, why do you post content? Well, it's number one, therapeutic for me and reflective for me. Number two is I'm not doing this for attention, right? I'm just doing this as a form of business and creating additional stream of income. And if I can share my journey and add value along the way, why not, right? Number four is I want this to be like a diary for myself, because I'm documenting my journey for my future kids, so they can see what I went through, my mindset, and the grind that I went through to get to where I am today, right? So it's a nice kind of library for my kids to reference one day, to understand my mindset and to know that I'm not perfect, and that I'm learning and figuring things out as I go along. So that's what's really nice about it. So live no regrets, and prioritize most of your money early on into travel experiences. And no, you can't have everything, right? Like you can't, maybe you sacrifice getting Uber Eats. I'm worth multi-millions. I don't do Uber Eats. I'll still drive and get my food, right? Because I just want to get out of the house, and unless I'm that busy, of course I'll pay for it. But all these little things just add up. And so be very intentional how you spend your money. Prioritize experiences that can compound over time, and then you can obviously get a little bit and start investing, right? So the second regret is I regret not investing sooner. So, people say, oh, I'll invest when I make more money. I'll invest if. They always say, I'll invest. There's an if statement behind it. And I'm like, well, if you can't learn to invest now, you're not going to learn how to invest later, because, well, guess what? When you're older and you make more money, guess what? You have more obligations. Maybe you have kids. Maybe you have elderly parents who need care. Maybe your health starts to suffer and you can't make as much money as you thought you did, right? So get the habit of investing today, even if it's a small amount. If it's $50, whatever you can allocate, that's $2 a day on average. Just get the habit of investing, and then slowly scale it over time based on your comfort level, right? Because money compounds. And I've seen it firsthand. I've only been investing for 12 years. I've seen my stock portfolio double. I've seen my real estate grow up significantly over 8 years. So you don't even have to wait. You have to wait at least a decade. But imagine 20, 30, 40 years from now, how that compounding is going to work. So, and that's why I even know social media. I started, about when I was 32, 3 years ago, and just trying to consistently pump out content, because I know this is going to compound as well. Right? It just takes daily discipline, compounding, and eventually I'll have a video that hits 1 million views, and I'll double my subscriber count, or triple or quadruple it easily, right? So it's really live a life of no regret. So don't regret not traveling when you're younger. Don't regret not investing when you're younger, and then do whatever semblance of that works for you. Right? So maybe you only travel internationally once a year, or maybe you just go on a trip there, but just always prioritize that, and then you can spend less money on other things if you have to, right? And then obviously still invest as well, because these are just good habits to have. The next thing is I regret not exercising or compromising my health. And for me, I've always prioritized working out since I was 20 years old, and it stemmed from a place because I am the type where I don't get muscle. I can work out and lift very heavy, and like you can't tell that I'm muscular. And like, believe it or not, I used to like deadlift, not competitively, but I was like pretty up there. Like I weigh about 130 pounds. I used to deadlift at my peak like 365 pounds, which is 3 plates plus a 25 each side. And I used to bench press like 225, and I used to squat about 225. And like, if you see me, like I don't, even at my peak, I didn't look that buff at all, because my body type is just a type where like I don't really like bulk up, right? Like I have cousins and family who like, they just can work out a little bit and they can bulk up real quick. But for me, I'm a hard time gaining weight. So I have to like lift very heavy in order to like see any muscle development, right? So I'm the type where I have to do like maybe 4 or 5 reps instead of the person who does like 10 reps in order to get like the noticeable muscle growth. But like I always prioritize like working out from 20 to like up to probably COVID time. And then COVID, I kind of slipped a little bit because I wasn't, the gyms were closing down. I wasn't as consistent, and I was getting really into like real estate investing at that time. So from 29, probably from 30, 31, 32, 33, like that window, or maybe even 34, I don't even know. Yeah, maybe like for like a 4-year period in my early 30s, I wasn't exercising as consistently. Like I used to go like 4 to 5 times a week, and then during that window, it's 1 to 2 times a week at best. And I just remember like I was not in the greatest shape, but still decent shape, but I wasn't as healthy as I was used to being. And then, I compromised it because I was like really stressed and depressed from, all my real estate investing, and my mobile home park wasn't going great, and I was burnt out from my renovating all my apartment complexes, and I wasn't any happier after achieving my real estate goals. So it's like, like during that window, I was like, oh my God, luckily I didn't give myself up too badly. But, just recently, like this year, and I would say like in 2025, like thankfully I got back in the habit of working out. I moved into my community. The gym finally opened up in October of 2024, and that's when I've been more consistent, because now I can walk to the gym, drive 2 minutes, 3 minutes to the gym, and I work out with my wife, and we kind of get on a schedule where we try to go like every other day. And then on the weekends, like if she's at work, then typically I will work out as well. So it's really about like finding that like balance, right? Like now, obviously I'm not going to deadlift, bench, squat, because that's more injury prone, but I'll still do some like free weight dumbbells. If I'm feeling it, dumbbell press, dumbbells for your back. So you can do so many workouts with your dumbbells. And I used to do, like, believe it or not, like 85-pound dumbbells on each side, and I used to like rep it like 3-4 reps, and now I'm at like probably 60-65, which is still pretty good, but not where I used to be. But yeah, it's just like, trying to get back into it and pushing myself, not to the point where I'm injured, but like at least regain my strength, right? And then once again, if you see me, you can't even tell that like I work out, because I just like have no muscle. Like I don't get muscle. I'm not the body type to get that. But for me, it's just more like stress relief, to stay healthy, to build muscle, because muscle mass declines as you age. So I just want to maintain my muscle, ideally build a little bit of muscle, and obviously stay and be a very healthy lifestyle. So for me, I never want to compromise my health, right? And then on top of that, trying to eat healthier. So I used to eat a lot of fast food when I was in my 20s, and once again, better for worse, I never gained weight. But the downside is that, like, well, just because I look skinny doesn't mean I can't have high blood pressure, doesn't mean I can't have high cholesterol, doesn't mean that my A1C for my diabetes could be high, right? So, I've been bad about going and seeing the doctor once a year. Like, people who work in healthcare are all terrible at seeing a doctor, because we think we're smarter for some reason. And I work at a hospital every single day, and I'm even still bad at it. So, just seeing your health markers, and then like just really watching your diet. So for me, I don't really eat out fast food as much anymore. Like McDonald's doesn't taste as good to me anymore. So I'd rather like eat at home, because obviously it's a lot cleaner. Like when you cook it, obviously it's more time, effort, and energy, but exactly like what went into the food, exactly like what you're eating. And then, sometimes you eat outside, you can just tell, oh, they cook this using like bad oil or like unhealthy vegetable oil, which causes more inflammation, right? So it's really about getting that balance, right? So like really watching your diet. It's baby steps, right? Maybe just start cutting out McDonald's or fast food, and then you can slowly transition to maybe I just will start cooking 1 meal a week and then 2 meals a week or whatever, right? Or when you eat out, there's healthy options now. But just doing that helped me, and then my frugality got me to drink water when I eat out, because I don't want to pay for a drink. But obviously drinking water is like super healthy for you too, right? Where like instead of drinking a Coke or a beer, just like have some water, right? It's healthier and help you live a little bit longer, hopefully. So yeah, that's kind of one thing that I've been doing, and it saves you money as well, right? And then obviously like alcohol, for me, luckily I can't drink that much because I'm allergic to alcohol slightly, and my wife is the same way. So like we don't drink that much. We just can have like one drink, and then we have a nice little buzz or feel a little loose, and then that's really it, right? You can have a good time doing that. So it's like take care of your health and never compromise your health, and that's always been a priority of mine. Even despite building wealth, right? Maybe I was only going once a week instead of like 4 times a week, but still, like I still at least went once a week. And, at that time I was more focused on like my mental health and making sure that I stay healthy and don't burn out. So obviously don't compromise your health. Like I see a lot of people who are like in their mid 30s now. I'm 35 now, and like, they're like pre-diabetic, have high blood pressure, have high cholesterol. Like you're only 30. I'm like, so like don't compromise your health. Like do little things to like improve, like whether it's just walk around, be mobile, go to the gym, whatever you like to do, right? Like lucky for me, like my wife and I, we get in the habit where like after dinner, if we don't work out, like we'll just go for a walk around the neighborhood, get some fresh air, help digest the food, clear your mind a little bit. And it's just a way for us to like build our relationship as well, spend time together. So the next thing is like obviously relationships, right? Like spending time with your parents. Like it's kind of morbid to think about, but if let's just say your parents have 15 years to live and you see your parents 4 times a year, you're only gonna see your parents 60 times more for the rest of your life. Like you spend 97% of your life with your parents from 0 to 18. And and my mom, unfortunately, she passed when she was 60. So that was like 2019. That's about 7 years ago. And it's cut short, right? So like luckily for me, I at one point lived at home in my 20s when I was a pharmacist to save money. But the silver lining of that was I was able to save money. But the silver lining and the nice part was I got to spend more time with my mom, right? Like I didn't know she would pass away so young at 60. And I, was living at home, and, I still got to interact with my mom for like from 25 up to like probably 27. And even when I moved out of the house, I went home like once a week to visit my mom, my dad. They were divorced. But like I would spend time and like visit them when I was up in the Bay Area. And now that I'm in SoCal, I only see my dad like maybe 4 times a year. So that's why it would be super sweet if I can get like a remote job where I can spend half time in Los Angeles, half time in the Bay Area, so I can spend time with my dad and my family up north. Or like eventually if I retire early, obviously I can split my time between the 2 areas. Like my wife, Christine, because she lives close to her parents, like she makes an effort to see her parents on her days off, once or twice a week. And every time we do an activity, she makes an effort to like invite them. And I was just like, that's good, right? Because you never know what happens in life, right? Only 2 things guaranteed in life are taxes and death, unfortunately. So, glad that I can do that. And it's a reminder that I got to spend time with my dad. And that's why for our next vacation to China, I'm bringing my parents. And then Christine is bringing her parents. So like we usually like to travel ourselves. But this time we're bringing the parents. And because we know that like, my dad's like 70 and like he's still healthy, he's still mobile, thankfully. So that like he only has a certain number of years where he's mobile, or it just takes like one bad accident, fall, and now all of a sudden you're not mobile anymore, you can't travel. So, I hope I have my dad's genes and stay super healthy until I'm later in life. And, it's just these small little things that compound over time. So like, prioritizing your relationships, right? Like, I think the bad rap of LA, and I've probably seen it a little bit, is like a lot of relationships are like very, very superficial, or a lot of the relationships that you get are like based on like, oh, what can I get from you to springboard off of you? So it's that like stereotypical superficialness. For me, I didn't experience that as much in the Bay Area. It's not to say that the Bay Area is less superficial. I mean, Bay Area is more tech, and your clout was like what startup company did you run? But like, I felt like, at least for me, like this is just my experience, so don't come at me, please. But like in the Bay Area, at least the friendships I felt like I built in the Bay Area, like people are a lot more like, they just say it how it is. It's not as superficial. They're not gonna like say things fakely just to get you to like them. It's more real and raw, which could be off-putting. But then like I noticed when I first moved from NorCal to SoCal, I'm very direct, I'm very raw, and it rubbed people the wrong way because maybe they're used to people being like more superficial, not as blunt, not as straight. So it's an acquired taste, right? So I can't tell, like, is that just the way I was raised to be blunt, or was it just the Bay Area where everyone's just super blunt, or is that just a Bay Area thing? I have no idea, but I still kind of did see like in LA, it's very, very superficial. In terms of friendships, and I'm just like, dude, what's the point? Like, what's the point of wasting your time if you have to like fake, like be nice and fake friendship? Like life's too short. Like just be yourself, be authentic, and attract the tribe that like likes you, right? That's why I love about social media. Like I just be myself, and the people that like me and vibe with me, they'll come reach out to me, right? And there's some people that say, hey, screw you, you're cocky, whatever. Like, whatever, I don't want to hang out with you anyways, right? So like I want to attract my tribe, and I'd rather be real and attract people that I really want to hang out with, and not these fake people that so for me, that's what's like very, very important for me. So it's prioritizing those friendships and those relationships, especially with your parents, because like you said, time is limited, and time is a scarce resource. And I think kind of the next thing too is like having that mindset and having that growth mindset. A lot of people, and I see it now that I'm getting older, like they still have the mentality of like a 25-year-old kid, but now they just happen to be older. Now they happen to be 45 or 55 or 65 or 70. And when you grew up as a kid, you always assume that your parents, the older adults, like knew so much. But as you get older, you realize that most adults are just trying to get over their freaking trauma from their childhood, right? And then like from their parents, which are your grandparents. And a lot of times your parents are just half-assing it, just winging it, and trying to figure it out on the go, right? They're not very intentional how they live. I definitely saw some of that, and maybe like the parents that I kind of see growing up, where they're just kind of winging it, right? And I don't blame them. They're doing the best they can with the hand that they're dealt, and it could work for some people or it could not. But in any case, like they just were not very intentional in how they live. So like you think they're smart, but the key concept is just always trying to like grow and develop, challenge your beliefs, always learn, be self-reflective, be self-aware. And once you kind of hit that point, like that's what helps you true growth. Like for me, I'm so fortunate that I'm very self-reflective. Like I'm always open to growth. I'm open-minded. Like I have a belief, but then like if I hear something else or hear an opinion and actually it starts to make sense for me, like I'll pivot and I'll be like, oh, it does make sense. Versus some people, like you said, you can tell like they're just like very age-wise, they're mature, they're old biologically, but like maturity-wise, they're stunted. Like there's people that I see who are like in their 40s and 50s, and they act like they're in their 20s still, right? So they are stunted at a certain age, and once you kind of realize that, you kind of see that like, oh wow, like this is more common than I thought. So like always grow, always self-develop, and basically have an open mind. Like the way I live my life is I like to I'm kind of happy-go-lucky, believe it or not. So like, for me, if you meet me in person and you get to really know me, like I just kind of go with the flow. If something bad happens, I don't let it take me down. Like I try to just make the best out of the situation, and find humor in stressful situations, find humor in the times of darkness. Maybe it's a coping mechanism that I have, but like just like if I'm gonna have to do something hard anyways, why do it stressed? I'd rather do it not stressed, with some humor, with a good attitude, because I have to do it anyways. I remember I said a long time ago when I was working, well, if I have to do the job anyways, I'd rather do the job not stressed versus stressed, because I get paid the same per hour, regardless if I'm stressed or not. So I'd rather get paid the same per hour to not be stressed, right? And like, there's some people that work, they have such a low stress tolerance. You guys know who I'm talking about, your W-2. Like, they're just a stress ball. Any little thing they overreact about, and they blow everything up. And, you know, that's just every work environment you go to, there's those people. And, you know, it's just like, God, like, I would be so miserable if that was like my mentality in life, where, you know, you're always a victim. You're always like, it's always not your fault. You're always blaming other people. You know, you have no control of your life or your situation. You can't even control your emotions, right? Like, I just see people like get emotionally dysregulated by the smallest little thing. And like I said, that's once again, like, these people are older biologically, but they're still mentally like a kid, right? Like, they're just so volatile. I'm just like, I would hate and regret if that was my life, right? So like, fortunately, I'm very self-reflective, focused on growth, and always challenging my beliefs, and always trying to like regrow and redefine and redevelop myself constantly as I'm growing, as I'm aging, as I'm learning, right? So, you know, always push that, and regret not learning, right? You can kind of see it, like, people are older, they just like stop learning at one point, and then they're just the same person. And that's why there's that phrase, oh, that's an old stubborn person, because they never changed in like 20, 30 years, because it requires more effort for them, and it's easier to not change than to change. So, you know, anyways, hopefully you found value from this video to like live no regrets. You know, once again, you know, when you're younger, start investing, focus on travel, prioritize traveling for spending money. Make sure you spend time with your friends and family. Don't compromise your health, eat healthy, and, you know, always like develop and grow, and so you don't regret not growing and not pushing yourself. And, you know, for me, on an ending note is, you know, I regret trying everything, right? I remember if I didn't move to SoCal to chase Christine, my current wife, I would have regretted it. It's like, to me, I wouldn't mind moving here. If it didn't work out, I just always move back to the Bay Area. I always have a place there. I always have a home in the Bay Area. So to me, I'd regret not trying, right? Like, for me, I regret when I was like in my depression state, I didn't travel once or twice. And I regret that now, because like, for me, I love travel, but I was not in the right mindset to travel. And another thing too is, you know, I don't, you know, I bought my mobile home park. Like, I lost money on it, but I don't regret trying. Like, you know, I gave it a swing, I missed, I got back up, and now I have no regrets of buying a mobile home park, and now I'm happy, you know, buying real estate. I don't regret buying real estate, right? Thanks to real estate, it's gonna give me the option one day to be financially free, to be able to retire earlier than most people, and to give me options in life, which 99% of the world cannot fathom, right? Because it's not, in their mind, it's impossible. But in my mind, it is possible. You know, I don't regret trying a few businesses. I opened my own pharmacy. I tried an e-commerce dropshipping store. You know, I'm doing social media and coaching. Like, I don't regret. I feel like I gave it all I got, right? You know, I have no interest in doing a huge business. You know, I just want to do a huge social media business one day, and then, you know, be a solopreneur, and then build a community off of that, or coaching off of that, or sell real estate off of that. But like, I just want to live a life of no regrets, and like, regret things not doing, like not asking out the girl, like not doing this. Like, for me, I want to exhaust all options, right? Which is maybe why I had so many different jobs, because I want to see, what is it like working here? What's it like working here? So that I can have no regrets in the future. So anyways, hopefully this gives you value. If you want to join the school community on a free trial, if you want courses, if you want coaching, I just lowered the price on my courses. If you want to use Steadily for a landlord insurance quote, for free, it's pretty fast, check that out. If you want to use Lending One, who's my favorite lender right now, and you want to send me an email, all my link tree down below. Otherwise, please like, comment, subscribe, and hope to see you in the next one. Thank you.